Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Coming Distractions. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host this week, Terrence.
What's up?
All right, guys, we're back to talk about the 2017 action film, American Assassin.
So some bad things happened to you. I didn't want to kill those mean old terrorists. For starters,
Mitch is off the charts. He's exactly what I've been looking for.
He's not ready. But he will be.
Dylan O'Brien and Michael Keaton.
You disobeyed a direct order. Never, ever let it get personal.
yes, sir.
Okay. This movie, before we get into it, this movie is based on a very popular New York Times bestseller.
Is it?
Yeah, I guess. Is that supposed to be what gets me in the theater for this?
When did that book come out?
I don't know. 2010. So it's based on the Vince Flynn novel of the same name. So you can check that out too if you're interested. My guess is you probably won't be after this review. So American Assassin, the general plot of this is Dylan O'Brien's character, Mitch Rapp, is with his girlfriend. They are in Ibiza, Spain on the beach, and terrorists show up and just start murdering a bunch of people. His girlfriend eventually gets, or fiance at that moment, gets murdered right in front of him. He gets shot twice. And then the movie just fast forwards to 18 months later as Mitch Rapp has been training on his own to take down this terrorist cell that were responsible for his girlfriend's death. He ends up getting picked up basically by the NSA or CIA, and they're like, hey, you should join with us. And that's where he meets Michael Keaton's character, who is sort of this character, Stan Hurley, who's a Cold War veteran who trains this like special group that he joins under the United States counterintelligence to take down a loose nuke. Wow, this is an insanely complicated, overly complicated story. But that is the general plot. Terrence, you and I saw this movie together. What did you think of this movie?
I'm probably going to be slightly more generous than you are.
I think that is absolutely true.
Yeah. This movie isn't good. It isn't good at all. It doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah.
It's incredibly violent.
That's the one bone. It's the one thing I liked about the movie is that it was, for what's going on, it should be violent.
It was super violent. That's what they spend their budget on. Blood packs all over the place.
Yeah.
The dialogue, terrible. Acting, not great. Keaton, he did what he had to do. The lead, no. No.
Dylan O'Brien. Yeah, he was no.
What else? I've never seen him in anything else.
He's the lead in those Maze Runner movies.
Yeah, he needs to. Those are YA novels, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, he needs to stay. He might be in his 20s. I don't know how old he is now.
I think he could still stay there. He's got time.
He's got plenty of time because he looks really young. He is not a leading man at all.
No.
And not remotely close. His voice was annoying. What did I say he sounded like yesterday? I can't even remember what the fuck he sounded. He sounded like a child.
Yeah, which is hard when you're brutally murdering terrorists.
It's weird because it's almost like Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, with that
he's
light voice,
suplexing people, but then he turns, hey, how you doing, fellas? Whoa, hold up, stop. It's very strange, but this movie's not good. I wouldn't pay to see it. I'd probably give it a 2 out of 5.
Okay. You're not more generous than me. That's where I am. It's a 2 out of 5. Mm-hmm. I give it points for the level of violence. One thing that made me realize, just because I was positive on this movie going in, right? Because I thought the trailer was good.
Right, the trailer looked really cool.
Yeah, I was like, all right, Dylan O'Brien, I saw the first Maze Runner movie, and I was like, that dude's really fresh faced and young looking. But then the trailer for this came out, and he's super bearded up, and he's kind of jacked. I'm like, okay, this guy's taking a dark turn. That's fine. He looked like a badass. But then when the movie starts, he only looks like a badass for 5 minutes, and then he's back to cleanly shaven, fresh-faced Dylan O'Brien.
Why did you shave the beard?
Yeah,
shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, you look like you looked way older. You looked believable. This just looks like a 17-year-old running around with adults. So you mentioned the dialogue. I thought the dialogue was really clunky, and it was as if the person who wrote the movie, Stephen Schiff, had never heard people talk to each other before. Like, it was really weird, and I don't know if it was an editing issue, because I'll also talk about the editing, which was atrocious.
Yes, it was.
This movie gave me real pause because we go to these screeners and then they have like the big splash up on the screen, like the big poster before the movie starts. And I hadn't noticed until I sat down that it said CBS Films, and I was like, oh no. CBS Films is not a studio, one that's really been around, like as a thing, hasn't been around that long, but they do movies that are really more family oriented movies, or other things that would be like on CBS. Like this show would be on, if this was a television show, it would be on CBS.
Yeah, it would be.
It's just enough violence to be too much for regular TV, but if you put it on like 10 o'clock, you could probably get away with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if they had Hannibal on NBC. Yeah,
right, like,
get away with this.
Yeah, you could probably get away with it. Where this would probably be a pretty decent, like it would be actually probably an above average series on television, but as a feature length movie, it just doesn't work.
Right.
So the dialogue was really clunky and weird. The editing, like I mentioned, there were moments, and I don't want to talk spoilers, but there were literal moments where you had the character in one scene, and then it would just hard cut to him like completely on the other side of the map, getting something, or like, actually, a spoiler alert for this moment, like suddenly like 12 stories up on a building. You're like, wait, what? Like, it didn't make any sense. It was almost as if the movie had skipped. Yeah. And I don't know if it was like they cut that scene because it was a little too long, or they just decided, we'll just put him there.
He's fucking Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, there were a couple times where you and I looked at each other like, huh? Like,
yeah, what happened there?
Yeah,
like, that one was the most jarring.
It was egregious.
Like, he was on the ground, and then it cut to him literally scaling a building.
Well,
no, he had already scaled it.
Already, yeah.
I was like, wait, they're not on the first floor.
Yeah, like he was post scaling. Like that was really weird. And then it happened again with another scene. That was just which was just like, okay, we're like, they're just like hard cuts. Michael Keaton's character was a fine character, but I did not care for his performance. I felt like this felt like a movie where the studio was like, you get to do Birdman and Spider-Man, but now you got to do one for us, right? And he was just like, fine. And he was just kind of like, I mean, he's still Keaton, so he's engaging and still good. Yeah. But he was so over the top by the end.
Yeah.
He was laughable.
He was basically that scene from Batman when he pulls out the poker.
Oh yeah, like you want to get 10. Nuts.
Yeah,
yeah. That was
that was basically him
for the last like 45 minutes of the movie.
That's all he did. I'm like, okay, but I like that.
Yeah, like that's the thing. That's the thing is like you're watching, you're like, this is ridiculous, but it's Michael Keaton, so I'll allow it.
Right, exactly.
Right. You have to allow it just because he's so goddamn good. Taylor Kitsch is in this movie.
I didn't even know he was. I didn't know anyone in this movie. I didn't know. All I knew was Keaton and Sanaa Lathan.
Yeah, and we'll get to Sanaa Lathan in a second too. Taylor Kitsch, maybe this was his best role, but that's not saying anything. I didn't think he was very good at all. And again, I don't know if it was him or if it was the dialogue. He talked unlike how humans talk to each other. It was just really weird.
Well, I didn't have a problem with his character. He was just a psycho.
Well, yeah, he was. He also, his character arc or the reveal of his character was about as stereotypical for these type of movies than I've ever seen. Like the first time you see him, I mapped out exactly, I was like, okay, his connection to these characters in this exact way, that is obvious.
Right. I didn't know it was him at first. I'm like, oh, I thought it was fucking the other kid.
Yeah, they look alike too.
What the fuck is going on? When, did he go rogue already? And then they showed him like, this is him in the truck. I'm like,
is that the same guy?
Him? Oh, that's a different person. All white people look the same. So.
I mean, in this movie, they kind of
they really did.
Well, and it's funny because they kind of do, because there are parts that they're sort of dealing with a lot of issues in the Middle East, and it's just like they could not stick out more like a sore thumb in these areas. It's like, well, those are all Muslim dudes, and that's 3 white guys. Like,
Right.
It's really obvious.
One that looks like an Abercrombie and Fitch model. Like,
Right.
You don't belong in this movie.
Exactly.
Or maybe that was his whole shtick.
Maybe.
He doesn't look like he's supposed to be there. Now, look, man, again, he's not a leading man.
Not yet.
He's got to get a deeper voice.
Yeah, I mean,
he the thing about him, like, he was
action-wise, he was fine.
right. He was fine action-wise. His character himself, he was a bit of a dick, but like I was kind of digging it in the beginning. Like, he was like, look.
Yeah, he was like really sarcastic and everything.
He's like, look, you're gonna know 20 seconds in whether I'm gonna be ready or not. So why don't we just get this shit over with? I'm like,
right.
Okay.
He was arrogant
Right.
and like, he's like, look, I did what I did on my own. I didn't need you.
Yeah.
And that was kind of badass. I was like,
fuck you. I don't need you.
right. And
then
like
he
those moments.
actually did, because he led them to the cell.
Yeah.
Like, they were following his ass for 18 months or whatever.
Right. He
So-
was just like a singular badass in his own right. And so that kind of worked. But then as the movie progressed, it was like, no. Some of the CGI was dodgy.
that last 5 minutes of CGI
It was dodgy, dude.
was hilarious.
I burst out laughing at one moment, and it was like, I'm not supposed to be laughing at this, but it was ridiculous.
It's pretty fucked up. Did you notice in the beginning when he gets captured, or not captured, but he goes to where he wants to take the dude out? His beard. Did you see the fake? Did you see the? It's a prosthetic. It was prosthetic because you can see like the stippling around the.
Ugh.
So it wasn't even a real beard.
Oh, see, that's
great.
sad. That's
I was like, that's fake as fuck. That's a shame.
it was a lace front beard.
Yeah, it was.
Jesus. But all in all, 2 out of 5. This is a complete. This is a have this movie on in the background kind of thing. Not something you need to see in theaters at all. Again, I was actually pretty bullish on the movie after seeing the trailer. Like, I was like, yeah, all right, this looks cool. No, it's not cool. It's terrible, and you shouldn't waste your time. Actually, if I'm being honest, now that I'm talking about it, this is a 1.5.
God damn.
Yeah.
It's boring.
It's a boring story.
It's very boring. It doesn't do anything different. Like, it doesn't do anything different. It's just violent. They were
Yes.
like, we got money. We just make. Is it a hard R?
It is.
Or is it a PG-13? Because it was super violent.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I feel like it's probably an R. Yeah, because I'm thinking about the language. It's definitely an R. And also before we get out of here, Sanaa Lathan we didn't talk about. She was fine, but like, again, the dialogue for her was so clunky, military. Like, this is what an NSA person would say.
Yeah.
Is it like? It just seemed weird, and like there was supposed to be more interaction between her and Michael Keaton's character, but they didn't dig in enough on it, so it just didn't. There wasn't enough there.
Right. There was no character development besides his.
Zero.
So
Nobody
I
got
didn't
any.
give a fuck when anyone ended up dying. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a death like fairly early on in the movie, and I was like, I don't care about that.
All right. And then there was one at the end where I was like,
I don't care about
I
that
still
either.
don't know what the fuck. Okay.
Yeah,
Fine.
Yeah, this movie had a $33 million budget. I would assume that the money has gone completely to the Squibs budget. But they don't really have a lot of good movies. Like, CBS Films doesn't really do a lot of great movies. Hell and High Water they did, which was great. But a lot of their movies they seem to just kind of just throw out there. They don't put a lot of work into it. And this is very obvious in the same way. I would not be surprised if this movie gets mentioned as a reboot as a CBS show. I totally wouldn't be surprised.
Makes sense because
It would probably do better, honestly.
Yeah.
It probably would. And you could probably do a little bit more in character development and dealing with the other guys. But no, this is another cheap spy action movie. Like, this is a throwaway.
And it committed the cardinal sin of having up close combat, like the screen being way too close to the action.
Because they don't know how to shoot it.
Stand that shit.
Well, because they don't know how to actually
And they
shoot
don't
it.
actually have like
Fighters.
yeah. Like it looked like he trained at least.
Oh yeah, no, the dude was in shape, but
like
back the
pull
camera.
out, you had fucking Scott Adkins. Like
Yeah.
that scene shouldn't have been that close.
No.
At all.
Okay. No. And that's the thing is you have someone like Scott Adkins who is such a good stuntman action star. Put that guy to
don't use
work.
him. Yeah, you don't
use
use him. It's
and they don't
fucking
use
worthless.
It was a worthless cameo. All right, that's it for us for this episode of Coming Distractions, and we'll see you guys next week.
Take it easy.